How's everybody doing today? It's Grimir here again. Actually, this time I'm making an RGMercs video for Drupal because Drupal doesn't like to write documentation. And honestly, I think a video's better documentation. And well, we've made a lot of changes to RGMercs since it first came out, and probably since a lot of people have maybe tried it and then were like, yeah, it's still early, let me try again. So I'm gonna go over some of the stuff we got here. First off, as you can see, this is my RGMercs in minimized mode. We added that option in there so you can click minimized and it'll go into that little button. Kind of nice. There's also a nice feature down here in your UI settings. So if you click escape while the window's on, that'll also minimize it. Just takes up less space on your screen. Kind of nice. As normal, all kinds of settings in here. You can search for any kind of settings. So you start typing and it'll find, get started typing com, it'll find anything that has com in the name. But as well as we've got a toggle here. So if you don't want to see all these other module configs from the top here down below on your main screen, you can turn those off. They'll shrink a little space on your screen. Otherwise, then if it's off, you just have to click each one to go see their own config options. Um, Speaking of modules, well, actually, yes. So first off, we added your mouse overs now will tell you the variables name. So like if you're trying to do a /rgl set variable, you know what the name of it is. That makes life a little bit easier, as well as what the default value is in case you change something and you don't remember what's changed. The layout's got a little bit different. We've moved announcements into their own tab. So if you're mixing and matching, the announce target one works for if you're grouped with like a kiss assist character, they need to know when your tank is attacking. Make sure my guys are killing this thing here because they're just kind of sitting. Anyways, I don't have pull enabled right now, or do I? Oh, I do. Charm probably broke. Uh, Buffs, all this stuff. So we kind of laid these out on nice and neat. Elgar did a bunch of work on this, as well as Durple. I really didn't play too much role aside from adding this guy because it's nice to have all the different announces together, as well as be able to see them on characters that can't mez, so I can turn off mez announce. So not seeing like, oh, X person broke mez from 5 other characters instead of just the character that's mezzing. Um, So that's the main section there, kind of covers that, stays the same. If we're in the class section, same deal, breaks things out a little bit nicer. Your rotations, your missing spells, all that's basically the same. But speaking on class, if you want to change any of this stuff, before you would have to go create your own copy of the config file, open it up, edit all the things. Now you can click this nice little button. It's going to create a custom config in your config folder, RGMercs, and then it'll make another folder called class_configs, and it'll dump a copy in there. You can open that up and add, remove, change spells, whatever you want to do. And if you click the button again, it's going to back up the already existing one and dump a fresh copy out of what the defaults are. So you can always keep checking on what's updated and rolling back if you need to. The backup's going to have a date timestamp on that. Movement, nothing much has really changed in here. Alright, so yes, I lied. We did make some changes on movements. I didn't want Durple to go screaming at me. To put it in somebody's nice words, why are my guys following me, trying to hump me from behind? Well, Durple addressed that one. And now we have a stop distance. So your characters will stop chasing you. And this is per character. So you're going to, in this case, this guy is going to stop chasing at 20 meters away and start chasing at 35. And then you can stagger your characters. So, maybe this one's at 20 and another one's at 18 or something. Then they stop all trying to stand on the exact same point and jumping, literally dry humping you from behind. Um, That is the big movement change. I didn't want to forget that. All right, here, pull. Now, pull mode, we did do some changes here. I'm going to turn this off real fast because in farm mode, you always had your farm waypoints. But if you have my paths installed, this guy over here, I have one path in this zone called zone clear, which is convenient. So if I wanted to load, if you have my paths installed, first off, you're going to get this drop down and a reload paths option. So in case you add new paths, it'll reload that file. But zone clear, that just loaded. This mimics this. So if I look at all these waypoints, these are these. It just took that, dumped it into here, and now when I load, if I come to this zone, it's already ready. I can go. Actually, I created my paths because I missed the ability to save multiple paths in a zone like Sibyllis, where I have 4 or 5 different paths for different parts of the zone. That's kind of nice. Nice little added feature. I'll throw these guys back on hunt mode and we'll continue pulling though, because I do want to clean this up. Drag options, I don't know, depending on when you last played with RGMercs, if you tried it out before. Drupal added in the option for dragging corpses along with you. I generally will set this on my rogue. It doesn't need to be on for all your characters. And then you can turn on spawn searching as well as DanNet dragging, so it'll keep track of all that stuff. And this guy here will show you, you can change this as well. This is just your search settings. So right now we're searching for PC corpses, but they got to be in your group and within 60 radius. So you can tweak that how you like. Performance meter, obviously that's been there for a while. Now, for EMU users, luckily for us, Drupal started playing on Lazarus, so that means a bunch of the EMU bugs are actually getting fixed. The things that don't work on EMU because they do things differently than live. Drupal is finally starting to feel that pain and has started working on some stuff. Now the benefit is now we have some is on EMU checks, which allows us to bring in this wonderful loot tab. Loot tab in this case is loot and scoot. So we're taking loot and scoot and we're importing it, and we've done some tweaks to it and brought it into RGMercs. So you get your do loot, that's just on and off. And then, well, we'll stay on the loot and scoot tab because down here in the items tables, you have our buy items tables. These are items that you want to buy after you're done selling. So I always want to have 1,000 food and water. Just restock me, fill me up to get me back to that. Add items there. You can drag and drop an item. So if I say, I don't know, we'll just do bone chips for now. But so if I wanted to add, oops, I'm in the middle of combat. But if I wanted to add an item, I can drag it. And if I drop it onto this guy here, it's going to add the name and then auto inventory it. Now I'm not adding that item because I don't need to buy diamond coins. I sell those. I collect those. Then there's your global items tab. So people that are familiar with Loot and Scoot will be kind of familiar with your global items. These are items that we're going to always follow the rule in here for, regardless of what our evaluation settings are going to be set for. So here's a list of stuff. There's a couple test items. I can delete that name, and now it's gone from the table. In fact, I've got 2 other ones to delete for those emerald test items. So boom. And this is going to, it's now on a database. So once you make this change here, it's going to send that out in actors if your characters are all on the same computer, and they will pull a fresh version of the database themselves. And then normal items, again, this is just a list of every item in here, but say I wanted to find a specific item, I don't know, lost memento, I can start typing in here and it'll filter it out. So that was the one I wanted with lost memento. I started typing lost, so I found everything with lost. Helpful feature that also works on all these other tabs for searching. Normal items is the only one that doesn't have an add items thing, because these are getting added as you loot. Anything marked as null, that was something, that was actually me, but I did that on purpose because if an item's marked as null, Loot and Scoop treats it as a new item and will properly reevaluate it. But on that note, let's get into the loot settings here. So everything's, again, got nice tooltips for it. We do have an always tag or an auto tag. So if this is off, the only things you're going to tag when you loot an item is either keep it or ignore it. Now, if you have, gosh, there's so many settings in here. It's add new sales or add new tributes. Whenever you sell an item or tribute an item, it's going to change that value or add that item and set it to those settings. As well as if you have loots, there's bank trade skills turned on. If you have bank trade skills and you loot any item that's flagged as a trade skill item, like the item itself shows trade skill in its tooltip, well, that won't be one of them. But you know what I mean? It's going to flag that as bank. Now, you can turn on auto tag, and auto tag is going to use these settings, so minimum tribute value, minimum sell value, all the stuff that you would determine whether or not to loot the item. And if it meets the criteria for you to sell it, it's going to flag it as sell and tag it. If it meets it for tributing because it was, had a higher tribute value than our sell value and it didn't meet our minimum sell value, we'll flag it as tribute. So that's an option. It defaults to false because, again, just options, add those as needed. Do destroy, again, that's an option. So if you want to destroy items that are flagged as destroy, we will. Otherwise, we just ignore them. Always destroy will also destroy items that are marked as ignore. So be careful. Everything's got tooltips. Again, I don't want to delve too deep into the loot section because, again, it's only for the EMU users, regular users. Advanced loot covers you. We did add a frequently asked questions section. Here's a list of all the commands, so you don't have to do like RGL help to get this. And then a bunch of questions. So this is every setting in your normal modules. So if I was to look up a loot setting, I can type in loot and find here's all my loot settings or anything that has loot or loot in the name. I do have a charm module, but I can look up the stuff, but because this class isn't a charming class, you can't see the settings and all of that. So let me switch real fast here to Kaleidofrog. Pop open Kaleidofrog. Here's my enchanter. So charm settings, you have the option as an enchanter, druid, necro, or bard. I think those are the only 4 classes that can charm, but if that changes, tell me, I'll add them. You can turn on charm, and if it's on, we're going to try to charm a mob. Now, if you're a class that also summons a pet, and you have charm on, by default, we're going to not summon a pet. This setting right here is currently not in action. I'll fix that at some point, but that is an option so that like you can summon a pet when you don't have a charm pet, and if you find yourself wanting a charm, we'll get rid of the old one and summon a new one. That's a future thing. I haven't added it yet. All of the charming classes that are not a bard will have the ability to use dire charm, AA. On EMU, this will slowly scale up in level. That's why it's kind of important on the EMU side, or at least on Lazarus. I don't know if all EMU servers will scale that in level. And then similar to Mez, you have a charm start count. So how many mobs do you want in camp before you try to start charming? Because we're going to use charm as a crowd control method, really, but also added DPS if we happen to be using dire charm or a really long duration charm. Then there's charm range, radius that it has to be within before you even try. Same thing as your Z radius in case something's too high or too low. And then charm targets. Now, we have an auto level range. This is similar to your other auto level ranges where it'll try to set your max level based on what the spell is. So in this case, it knows my max charm spell is 66. It's going to set it there. Charm minimum level, you set that yourself. I'm currently setting it to 44. My guys are 65. I don't really need to be charming. I'm not trying to charm anything lower than that. Charm stop hit points. The mob gets below this and you don't want to keep charming it anymore, set it to a higher value or a lower value, whatever you want. So basically, if the tank's fighting it or the mob you were originally going to charm is now at like 30% health, you don't want that pet anymore. It's probably dotted and going to die anyway. Just skip it. Now for Dire Charm. Dire Charm max level, again, like on EMU, this thing will scale with tiers of Dire Charm. So your level will increase the more tiers that you have in the AA, as well as higher level you are. We don't have a way to check what your max is out of the AA, so set this as high as you want. And then if you happen to find a mob that's too high level, we're going to take that mob's level, subtract 1, and reset this to that. So that's our way of auto adjusting that. Now, if you level up that AA again, you may want to just jack this up another 5 or 10 points and let it reset itself for you. Again, similar to your mez, we're going to keep a charm list of mobs that are available to charm and an invalid list, so as things become immune or whatever, they get added to this list for it. I don't have a way to manually add them, and this doesn't save. Maybe we'll add that later, but for now, it's just there. Otherwise, I think that's most all of the main new settings and stuff. And then again with the facts, there's also a class section in here. These need to be fleshed out a little bit. I'm going to switch back to that. And if I go to my class section on the Shadow Knights facts, FAQ, whatever, I have one item that has anything written about it. So, oh no, I'm still searching for charm. So there we go. Have one item with anything written about it. All the rest are currently blank. So as we fill in these frequently asked questions and answers, they will show up. We do like to list the setting name so you know what setting is involved or what the question pertains to. Like up here, some of these things actually use more than one setting or have more than one setting that can adjust them. So like here, charm on, auto level range, charm, I should fix the wrapping on this column. Charm min level, charm max level, all of those things can affect why is my charmer not charming anything. So, make sure charm's on, make sure your min level and your max level are in the right ranges. Alternately, you can set the auto level so that it sets your max level for you. So thus all of those items are listed over here. And in this one, charm on, charm start count, etc. So helpful ways, both in-game and I'm in the process of working on the wiki, which is basically going to be all of these questions and answers just dumped onto the Red Guides wiki page. Anyway, I believe that's kind of everything right now. So I'm going to end this video here. Ciao.